In a dusty corner of a small town, nestled on the outskirts of a busy highway, there was an old truck garage. The garage was a simple place, filled with the sounds of heavy tools, grease, and the smell of oil. It wasn't glamorous, but for Hasan, a 30-year-old mechanic, it was home. Hasan was a hard-working man, known for his skill with engines and his quiet demeanor. He'd spent years at the garage, fixing broken trucks for truckers passing through the area. His life was simple. He lived in a modest apartment above the garage, and every day he did the same routine: wake up early, fix trucks, and save what little money he made. Though he was good at his work, Hasan never quite felt like he was going anywhere. He dreamed of a better life, of a future where he didn't have to live paycheck to paycheck. But the years passed, and his dreams seemed more like distant stars than achievable goals. One late afternoon, as Hasan was cleaning up the garage, he noticed something odd. In the far corner of the yard, hidden beneath a dusty tarp, was an old truck. It had been sitting there for weeks, abandoned and forgotten by its owner. The truck was rusty and covered in dirt, but something about it intrigued Hasan. He wasn't sure why, but something inside him told him to investigate. Hasan grabbed his tools and walked over to the abandoned truck. As he wiped away the grime from the door, he noticed that the truck didn't have any obvious markings. It was unlike any truck he had ever seen. With a grunt, he opened the door and climbed inside. The interior was dusty, but there was something strangely pristine about it. As he began checking the engine, Hasan heard a faint sound, something metal rattling. He reached under the seat and pulled out a small, heavy box. His heart skipped a beat. He wiped off the dust and slowly opened it. Inside was a gleaming gold bar. The moment Hasan touched the bar, he felt a rush of excitement flood through him. It was real. The gold was worth a fortune. His hands trembled as he stared at the bar. For the first time in his life, he could see a way out of his struggles, a way to a life of comfort. Hasan didn't know who had left the gold or why it had been abandoned in the truck, but it didn't matter. The gold was his now. He hid it in his locker at the garage, telling no one about his discovery. As the days passed, Hasan couldn't stop thinking about the possibilities. He dreamed of buying a new car, a house, maybe even a vacation. With the gold bar, he could have it all. Soon, Hasan began to change. He started working less at the garage, spending more time planning how he could use the money. He started buying things: expensive clothes, a new car, and even dining at fancy restaurants. He was becoming someone he never thought he could be: rich, powerful, and most dangerously greedy. One day, as he sat at a luxurious restaurant, Hasan overheard a conversation between two businessmen about a large investment opportunity. His eyes gleamed with greed. "If I had more gold, I could make that deal work. I'd be unstoppable," he thought to himself. That night, he took the gold bar to a local pawn shop and traded it for cash. He returned home with a briefcase full of money, ready to make his dreams come true. But in his pursuit of wealth, something inside him began to shift. He found himself ignoring his friends and family, his work at the garage slipping. The money, the luxury, it was all consuming. His world became about what he could buy next, and it was never enough. Weeks passed, and Hasan's life, once simple and focused, became a whirlwind of luxury and excess. But the more he had, the more he felt empty. He wasn't happy. One afternoon, as he walked down the street with a stack of shopping bags, he passed by his old friend Eli, who worked at the diner down the road. Eli waved, but Hasan barely acknowledged him. He was too busy with his own thoughts, his own world. That night, as he sat alone in his expensive apartment, Hasan couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. He looked at the piles of money, the expensive car in the garage, and the designer clothes in his closet, but none of it felt real. He hadn't felt true joy in weeks. The next morning, Hasan woke up with a sense of dread. He could no longer deny it. He had become someone he didn't recognize. He had let greed take over his life. He drove back to the garage where he spent years working with his hands. He found the dusty old truck again, parked in the back corner. The gold bar was long gone, but the truck still sat there, a silent reminder of the man he used to be. Hasan sat down in the truck's cab, his fingers tracing the steering wheel. He closed his eyes, remembering when his life was simpler, when he worked hard, found pride in his craft, and had good friends around him. He realized he had sacrificed all of that for something that never truly brought him happiness. Hasan made a decision. He went to the pawn shop where he had exchanged the gold bar and bought it back with the little money he had left. Then he used the gold to pay for the truck's repairs and started working again, this time for the satisfaction of doing something he loved. He went to Eli's diner and apologized for his behavior. He started helping at the community center, offering his time and skills to those who needed it. His friends and family noticed the change. Hasan wasn't the same greedy man anymore. He had found something more valuable than money, contentment. A few months later, Hasan stood in the garage looking at a brand new truck that he had restored with his own hands. It wasn't the flashiest truck in the world, but it was his, and for the first time in a long while, Hasan smiled. He had learned that real wealth wasn't measured by gold or luxury. It was measured by the people around you, the work you do, and the kindness you show.